to episode 18 of the Flag Stays Down podcast, first of 2022. First following a 2-2 draw, Liverpool today. Got a full staff here. Myself, got Parker, got Matt. Lovely Sunday evening. Snow fell here in Milwaukee. But we'll start with you, Parker, up in Minnesota. How you doing?
It's just cold here, man. It's just bitter freaking cold. So hunkering in, went to Total Wine. I feel like this pod should be sponsored by Total Wine by now. The amount we shout them out. Picked up a couple bottles of scotch for the New Year's, and so working on an Ardbeg 10-year single malt scotch. So that's good, man. I can't really complain. Hopefully our Packers can pull out a win against the Vikings. The rivalry of where I live versus where I'm from, but no, everything's good. How about you, Matt?
Doing good. Like Collins had mentioned, we got a nice bit of snow overnight last night. So up nice and early and gearing up with my new bibs that I got for Christmas. So nothing screams Wisconsin like wearing a pair of bibs and firing up the snowblower at 8 a.m. So good times all around. But yeah, everything's going well. I'm working on a Woodford Reserve small batch right now, again from Total Wine. Parks, I'm in complete agreement. Like, they need to start sponsoring us. The amount of rewards that myself and Molly probably have there is through the roof. But yeah, all's going well. Collins, how are you?
We'll make it 3 for 3 on Total Wine because I'm on quarantine still for COVID. My parents went and picked me up a bottle of Great Lakes Distillery Still and Oak bourbon. It's fantastic. Apparently it beat out Jack Daniels in some national contest. I don't know, but it's delicious. So Total Wine, if you're listening, we're shouting you out for free right now.
If Total Wine spokespeople are listening to the Flag Stays Down pod.
Yes, of course they are. They know us. Well, at least they know me.
How can you not know about us? Arlo White shouted us out 4 times today.
Yes. Arlo knows what's up. Arlo listens. Arlo, we appreciate you.
And you know what? It's 5 if you count the beginning of this podcast.
Very true. Very true.
All right. Well, let's dive into the football here. It was a interesting week in Chelsea football. We start the week at home against Brighton. Ahead for most of the match, though certainly not dominating it. It was one of the rare times where we lose out on shots, lose out on possession. And of course, it has to be Danny Welbeck scoring it late to tie it up. But, we did see Rom score for the second time in as many matches. And that's exactly the landmine that I want to step on to start this pod here. Big Rom this week. He's got the interview with Sky Italia, something like that. Basically saying that he's unhappy with Tuchel, he's unhappy with the system, unhappy with the change in system, and calls Tuchel out by name, and then goes on to apologize to Inter fans and says that he will be back in his prime. And keep in mind that he's 28 years old. But before I flip it over to you guys, I want to make sure that I get my point across here, because I spent most of that Thursday that came out irate, sitting on my couch with a fever, just blood boiling. Big Rom probably doesn't listen to the pod. I haven't seen anybody from Belgium listening in, but in the odd chance that you listen this week, man, fuck you. All right. No one's bigger than my club. There's something about Chelsea. Chelsea's a community. Chelsea is, for a lot of people, life. And by coming out 6 months after coming back to the club and saying that, Chelsea, the only club you're going to come to is Chelsea, and the only reason you would leave Inter is Chelsea, and to say, yeah, no, I'm not happy here. I'm not happy with the system, which, by the way, is the same system that Belgium plays, that he seems to score in all the time. Like, I can't put into so many words how much hate I have for Big Rom at this moment. If we sell him this January, I'm fine with it. No one is bigger than this club. And on that note, what do you guys think?
I don't have much further to add on it. I mean, admittedly, the year end for me, people that know me, is my busiest time. So Thursday, Friday, not the kind of days I can spend scouring Chelsea Twitter. So Collins, thank you for your due diligence, and a lot of the info I got was because of you. It seemed like a roller coaster. It seemed all very bad, and then it kind of was like clawed back a little bit from a sense of like, oh, well, this was 3 weeks ago. Maybe there was some mistranslation. Maybe when they were commenting about it, he said some of the same words, but it wasn't in the same kind of vein. And then shit just hits the fan, I guess. And he wants out. He's demanding a transfer. He might be out this month in January window. He might be out next year. It's a terrible look. I mean, when Tuchel was asked about it, he just said, "We don't need this noise, right? Like, this is just all crap that Chelsea don't have time to deal with." And when we've drawn like 3 of the past Premier League games, and we're dropping points left and right, we want to focus on the football, and we don't want to focus on Sky Italia interviews. So the only thing that I kind of always go back to is what you ended on, Collins, which is no one is bigger than the club. That's true for Frank Lampard. That's true for John Terry. That's true for Didier Drogba, Petr Cech, Ashley Cole, any one of our guys that we've cheered for forever. I mean, no one is bigger than the club. The club is bigger. I thought it was a good move to not even include them in the roster for today against Liverpool. Someone who would, you would always bet to feature in a match. That's why you sign $100 million striker, is for the match against Liverpool, the match against City, the match against United. And I think that's loud and clear from Tuchel is you're not bigger than this club. No one is. And I don't know. I think there's like a call that's going on tomorrow or something or another, leaked from Tim Howard, apparently. I don't know, man. There's too much crap going on to follow it all. But Collins, you and I were talking about this just a few minutes ago, but I think they're going to try to figure some stuff out, at least from what do we say publicly and what do we try to figure out behind closed doors, fashion. But I wouldn't be sad to see him go after this. It's tough to come back from. It's a tough look. So it'll be interesting to see him. My guess is not many people are going to want to jump at the bit for him unless you are Inter, but I guess we'll see. Matthew, what do you got here, man?
All right. So I've been obviously talking with you boys in the group chat about the whole thing. I feel like this is stuff that usually happens with any club. It's just the fact that it went public and when it went public. Collins, I think that you were saying that Matt Law reported that it was an interview done 3 weeks ago when Rom wasn't even playing. And I think it all boiled down to the fact that he was fit and ready to go, but he didn't start when he felt like he should have started. From everything that I've seen, everything that I've read, Rom is somebody who doesn't really mince a lot of words. He was unhappy that he didn't get his chance to start when he felt that he was fully healthy and ready to go. And I understand that. Granted, we are talking about, when we look at Sky Sports Italy, there are obviously language barriers that go on and some things might get misinterpreted. But looking at all of the passages that were shown publicly, it's kind of hard to misinterpret a lot of that. It seems like he was upset that he left Inter, especially in the way that he did so abruptly. Obviously coming back to Chelsea, I do still think that he wanted to come back to Chelsea. I really do. I just think that, and this boils down to something that is behind closed doors. We don't know. All we can do is speculate. Did Tuchel promise him a slightly different role than what he has with Belgium, than what fit his system? Did he offer him something different than what he was than what he was promised. There's a lot of things that we don't know. Tuchel came out in the presser right before the match today saying, yeah, we've talked, and we've had conversations, and we just felt that it was best to leave him out of the squad for today. I get that. And with Tuchel, he's not a manager to back down, especially to one player. He was at PSG before, right? You really think he's going to back down? He got let go because he didn't back down. So I really don't see that playing out in Rom's favor. At the same time, I get it. It's emotions. He got injured during the Champions League game. He's been out for a while. He wants to come back and play. He wants to come back and score. The timing of it to me seems weird, especially with somebody who's in form since coming back. The fact that it's released after the 3 weeks when the interview happened, Rom is playing really well right now. The timing of it seems a little suspect to me. But again, words were said, and I think that we have to find a way forward. And I think Tuchel and Rom will figure that out. I don't think he leaves in January, solely because we've spent too much money on him. And if we do sell him, we're not going to get that back in the transfer market for him. We're just not. So we'd be losing money on that front, and we are not a club that likes to lose money on anything. So I think we keep him. I think Tuchel and Rom figure it out. It sounds like they've had some good conversations before the Liverpool game, and obviously they're gonna I think hash things out tomorrow. Even Tuchel said, it's just something that we kind of have to hash out, which is fine. I think that there are rifts between your bigger, more expensive players and managers. If this was somebody like, Chalobah coming out with something like this, I don't think we'd be having the same conversation. But the fact that it's Rom, he's stressed at how much, if he were ever to come back to a club, it would be Chelsea. That's where he got to start, everything like that. So I see a path forward. I don't see a clean path, but I do see a path forward where Tuchel and Rom are going to kind of hash things out, say what needs to be said behind closed doors, and then figure out a way to move forward and finish off the year. And then whatever happens at the end of the year, that's a different story. But I think with the way that Chelsea is now, you can't afford to sell him.
See, and Matt, I think you're spot on. I think this is going to be kind of a messy situation for a little while here. It's going to take some hashing out. And, I was certainly all on board in those first, couple hours there with it must be misinterpreted, must be, some kind of disconnect. But you look at the little things here, and you look at him calling out Tuchel by name. And, there's an unwritten rule in these kind of things of, when you're referring to the manager and you're criticizing the manager, you say, Mr. Manager, or the manager, or the boss, or the gaffer, whatever you call it. No, he called out Tuchel by name. You look at him immediately deactivating his Twitter. You look at him updating his Facebook bio to all his bio says is Inter Milan. Which, I'm sorry, you're under contract at Chelsea. How is that not being cross-checked? That's a very voluntary decision there. And then, you see things like messaging Tim Howard and saying, can't talk now. Situation at Chelsea is hot. What does that mean? What? First of all, fuck Tim Howard and his anti-Chelsea-ness. All of this is very calculated because you guys are spot on. Rom is a very smart guy. But at the end of the day, what's your end game here? No one in club football has $100 million to spend on you. You want to go to Inter? Inter's almost bankrupt. Inter is looking for a new owner. He talks about in his interview that, if it wasn't for Chelsea, or if, it had been Chelsea and one of the 3 big clubs in Europe had come along to make an offer, Barca, Madrid, Bayern, he would have taken that instead. Are any of those looking for strikers? Barca's bankrupt. You got Benzema at Madrid. You got Lewandowski at Bayern. No one's coming for you. What is your end game here? All you did was dig yourself a hole. So it honestly, whatever consequences are coming his way, good.
I have one question. Did the interview, like the full interview, actually air? Was this like a recorded and then like planned to air, and has that aired yet, or is this just like kind of the clips that have been released to media so far?
It has aired, and the transcript was posted by Sky Italia.
Got it.
Yeah, I think again, it's for me, it's the timing of everything that's really kind of suspect. Like if this interview was done 3 weeks ago and it's just being released now, when obviously Chelsea is struggling, it seems very weird, especially if you have somebody like Rom who wasn't even playing at the time. And he's talking about how flawed the system is and it doesn't fit him. Well, the system isn't meant to fit you. Sorry, it's a full blown team system. It's not like a Barca with Messi where just give Messi the ball and let him create. It's not that kind of system. And I feel like he should have known what he was getting into. And again, whether Tuchel promised him something and said that it would cater to him and it doesn't, but it honestly, it doesn't cater to any of our strikers right now. if we look in the grand scheme of things, our strikers, and I don't even count Mason Mount as a striker. I mean, he's scoring. You had Reece, you had Chills when they were healthy, they were scoring. Obviously, Jorginho can only score penalties, but you just have goals coming from everywhere. So it's not a primary focused system. It's not based solely on the striker. But I have seen when Ram has played a different look when he's out there. And Collins, you had talked about this, how we feel like when Kai was in, the system was, cross balls in all the time. But then when Ram came in, it was more hold up. And I feel like in the last 2 games, it's found more of a balance. Like Ram he's still going to be that big bruising striker, but he's able to link up. We are sending more balls into the box for him to capitalize on. We are using his height, his size, his strength, his speed. That run against, was it Villa or West Ham? Can't remember which one.
Boxing Day, Villa, I think.
Yeah, Claret and Blue. We've got 3 teams that fit the mold. But like that run, like, yes, we expect that out of Ram. He doesn't get a lot of opportunity for it, but we know that he can do it. He's got the ability to hold up play, to link up, to counterattack, to use his strength and power. He's a very dynamic threat from the striker position. And I think that previously it was kind of keeping Ram as more of a one-dimensional striker. But I think now it's kind of opened. I think now Tuchel has kind of seen that, and it's kind of opened up into, he can do a lot more, and giving him the freedom to do a lot more.
So my last kind of broad point on this before we get a little bit more pointed with it is that this has made me respect Timo Werner so much more. You look at Timo last winter when there were rumors of him, going to Bayern or going to Dortmund or whatever it was, and honestly his goal scoring dried up. Frank got sacked. And Timo came out publicly and apologized because he felt it was his fault that the manager got sacked. I don't know if that, Ram's end game here is a new manager, maybe Roberto Martinez or, somebody he's worked with previously. Antonio Conte was on the board for a while. But man, Timo just puts his head down and works. And that's what I like at my club. That's what I like to see.
Man, I sure hope new manager isn't the end game, because I have never been more on board with Tuchel than I have been this week. I like how he's handled it. I like how he's handled the press. I like how he's handled the situation. And, it's one of those things where I don't think it's the manager's fault. I think it's some of the things that go on with the players, and we're in really good situations to win, and sometimes the boys just aren't good enough. But the one thing I will say about the Rom thing, just before we wrap it up, if in fact we do not sell him in January, and if in fact he does get worked back into the system, the only thing I can say is goals heal all wounds, in the sense that if he comes back and he starts scoring, we'll forget about this pretty quick. If he comes back and he plays well and he does put his head down and work. Now, obviously, if he's an ass about things and keeps bringing stuff up, like we have a different comment about it. But if he does the right things and scores goals and helps us win matches, we will forget about this. You know, Aaron Rodgers has had a ton of drama around him all year, including potentially lying about being vaccinated and then getting COVID and finding out that he wasn't and all that jazz. But Rodgers wins games and throws touchdowns to Devontae Adams, and everyone seems to be okay with it when he suits up and throws bombs. So it's a weird dynamic in sports where you sometimes have to separate the bullshit from the end product. But if Rom gets back out there and he does all right, we'll continue to back him. I know it feels raw right now and it's hard to say today, but we will. If he's part of our best 11 and we're going up against City, we're putting him up there. That's all I gotta say.
I will say that one thing that has been absolutely shocking to me over the last couple of days is the support, not only from the club, but from the fans to the manager, to Thomas Tuchel. And especially in his decision to drop Big Rom out of today's squad. Years past, and again, I've seen it countless times. I mean, I don't even know how many managers we've had since I've started watching, but it's always the players first. It's always the big money comes first. And the players held power for a long time at this club, and it's been toxic. It has led to a lot of short-term success, but it's also kind of hampered us for a long time. The season we finished 10th under Conte. There's been seasons where Europa League seasons. It's because we don't have that stability, and the fact that literally everyone is rallying around Tuchel, I think, is a very positive sign. So if there's one good thing to come out of this, I think that's it.
So one big thing that stuck out to me while listening to Tuchel get interviewed before the match today, he was asked if the match against Liverpool was a must-win. He said no. He said every game is a want to win. It's not a must-win. Every game is a need to win, or not a need to win, but a want to win. I think that's a perfect answer. Like, looking at his interviews, he doesn't answer anything incorrectly. And he doesn't throw anybody under the bus, like, classic Mourinho. He is true to his answers. He's true to his values. When asked about Rom, he just said, it would impact our preparations that we were making for the Liverpool match, and it would have caused more headache, and we were trying to prep for it, and we didn't want to affect the preparation for today's match. I think that's an absolutely perfect answer. And it's justified. It's not throwing Rom under the bus. It's sticking true to his values. He's making a stance. He did that in the most passive-aggressive way possible. And I think that is a big change from what we've seen out of previous Chelsea managers in the past. And I absolutely am 100% behind TT.
Absolutely. And so, let's turn towards today's match. Liverpool at home. We've got both our wing backs out injured, a couple players still out with COVID, several others, kind of dancing with the injury bug there. Things don't look great coming into it. And of course, we go down 2-0 rather early. Sane and Salah scoring. I will give Salah credit for not celebrating, though. His first goal at Stamford Bridge, not wearing a Chelsea uniform. The guy's classy there, and things honestly looked bad. I remember texting you guys in the group chat at one point saying, okay, if this decision goes against us here, I'm turning it off. And sure enough, touch of magic, Mateo Kovacic with a worldie, a golazo. Too many adjectives to describe it. It was fantastic. Gets us back in it, and literally 3 minutes later, Christian Pulisic ties it up. Game ends 2-2. I felt good about it. I don't know how you guys felt about it, but it was probably the best game of the year so far.
It was quite the first half. I wasn't able to catch the first half, but I did catch the highlights and everything like that. I remember I was at church with my fiance, and I remember leaving. I looked at my phone as soon as service was over. I looked at my phone. I'm like, oh shit! I saw it was 2-0. I get home, and keep in mind this is like a 5-minute drive. I get home, TV's still on with the Chelsea game, of course. 2-2. I look at my fiance. I'm like, what the fuck just happened? She's like kind of oblivious to it. She's like, what's going on? I'm like, I explained it to her. She goes, oh, yeah, you missed a good first half. I'm like, yeah, I know. But then watching everything, Kovacic, oh, love that man. He pulled out some like Karate Kid crane kick of a goal, and oh, so beautiful to watch. And then Christian, the way that he was able to control that ball and then put it right in that top corner, beautiful. That's the Christian that we've been waiting to see. He did have some other opportunities that he probably should have finished to give us a little bit more of an advantage. But to see that kind of skill out of him after, that first big miss and then another miss late, but just to see that, like, it shows that his confidence is growing to be able to take that touch off a beautiful pass from Conte and then be able to control with his feet, then off his shoulder, and then bam, right past. They were great goals. A very entertaining first half of football. Second half we had opportunities as well. Didn't capitalize, which, that's kind of been a running theme for us this whole season, is having a lot of opportunities but not cashing in on them. But overall, being down 2-2 or being down 2-0 and coming back 2-2 in the first half, I like that. I like that for us, especially for our confidence with a relatively depleted squad.
It's both of our games against Liverpool have ended in draws that kind of feel like wins for Chelsea, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I know the circumstances of both are completely different, right? But it's definitely an interesting dynamic. It makes me feel like we're not supposed to be drawing with them and that we pull it out of our ass a little bit. So maybe not the best thing for my confidence there, but no, it was a great match. I mean, you guys touched on Kova, and Kova's goal was phenomenal. Christian's goal was great. The thing about Christian that I liked was, he definitely missed a really early, really great opportunity. And then to see him take a goal like that after he had already kind of flubbed one was really good. And then, his confidence grew in the game. And so even after starting on the left wing and then being moved to right back mid-match, he still got involved. He still got in front. He still had a shot on goal that got saved in the second half, which was positive. And I thought, that's definitely a good sign from him. Not his best game, definitely not, but good sign from him. It's funny because I thought the first half was all about the goals and the second half was all about the saves. Mendy had 4 or 5 really top-notch, really great saves. Any other day, I think Liverpool puts 4 in past us, given some of the opportunities that they had and given who's taking them. I mean, Mo doesn't really miss much, and he had a couple, especially the one where he took it from long, and I think he caught Mendy out a little bit, and Mendy kind of jumped back and got the save. So exciting, energizing, edge of your seat. A lot of times where I'm like, I can't take this shit, man. I'm too old for this shit. This is just ridiculous. And I'm freaking out about a Chelsea match. But yeah, one of the most entertaining first halves I've ever seen. And then nail biting kind of second half where it got a little tense and a lot of good opportunities at both ends. So it always sucks to drop points, especially when City pulls out what a 94th minute winner like they did the day before. So I think they've won like 11 straight, which I know Arlo commented on it and said this seems to be what City does in the middle of the season to kind of just submit their dominance on the league, where they win 11 straight and they take 33 points from 11 matches. And you're like, holy shit, man, this is how you win leagues. It's not one match, it's not two, it's a string like that. So tough like that, but a lot of positives, all considering all of the negative energy around the club before kickoff. So I mean, when we talked with Joe, we all said how even of a matchup this is. And I think the 2-2 draw, like it played out, really proved it.
And it's amazing how spot on Joe was too, because he said the weak link would be Kanate. And sure enough, he was. But I think it was both goals. No, I take it back. It was the Christian goal was pretty much his fault. Although it was a beautiful pass. I watched that Christian goal several times. That pass from Conte is just something else. But in terms of player performances, it was kind of a weird match. You know, Parker, you and I had talked in the match about how Christian Pulisic had gone from great during Operation Restart to being okay to being bad to being just terrible. You know, missing that sitter in the first 3 minutes there. And then he comes back and has a decent game the rest of the way. Trev Chalobah, on and off game for him. A lot of mistakes, a lot of good balls though. Marcus Alonso was certainly responsible for one of those goals, but he did an okay job coming up in attack. Across the board, outside of Kovacic and Conte, I think it was a lot of up and down. So I do want to focus on those two because Matt, I'm admitting that you're right. I'm giving it to you. This is the preferred midfield when everyone's healthy. Kova and Conte, the pivot. You've got Kova who can go box to box. You've got Conte pressing up high. It worked, and Kova was just on another level. Putting Firmino on his ass a couple times is just chef's kiss. I loved it. So Matt, I'll cede it to you. Congratulations. Jorginho is probably our third best midfielder.
I knew that you would come around eventually. I knew it just took this match for you to realize it. I would say even when Jorginho came on, right, we expect him to be another midfielder to kind of calm things down, use his distribution. I didn't really hear a lot of his name called even when he was on. And one of the times, and of course, me being me, the one Jorginho back pass that almost led to a goal. I'm like, really? That, like, come on. If you're going to be the number 3 in, the Ballon d'Or race, you can't be making stuff like that. And this is something that we've kind of seen over the last few months is these kind of errant passes or kind of lazy-ish back passes. Whatever the case is, so be it. Obviously, he's still struggling with his back issue, I'm sure. And, obviously Chelsea's dealing with a lot with their injuries, with their COVID protocols, which I think is something that doesn't get enough attention, is the fact that we are basically playing wounded every single week. And we have probably the most ridiculous schedule out of any Premier League team because we are in so many cups still. And then when you lose people like, you're out with Cho, Kai, Ram, now you're out Chills for the rest of the year. You just lost Reese for 2 months or whatever the case is. Silva had a hamstring, but he was able to go a full 90. Chalobah looks like he picked up a knock today. Kova's just coming back off COVID and his hamstring. Conte, you don't know what you're getting with him, how long he can go. It's like we're basically playing with house money at this point. Like we're just throwing out whatever, and whatever happens, happens. Luckily, we have enough talent on paper to be able to handle this. when we get into situations where we have to put in Saul and Ross, then we obviously get a little bit nervy. I think all of us were hoping for a Harvey Vale debut in the Premier League, which we didn't get, but he's somebody that can also play multiple positions. He, even going through the youth academy, he's played everything from striker to left wing to right mid, central defensive mid, left back. Like, he's played everything. So he's a very versatile type player that we could definitely throw in. And I think we'd all prefer him over Saul and Ross, and maybe even Marcus Alonso. But I'm just saying we have enough talent to be able to produce outcomes better than what we've been showing. And I think that our schedule, injuries, COVID, it's playing a huge part in that. I don't recall seeing anything really coming out of Man City about COVID or a lot of their schedule issues or anything like that. So, they're definitely at an advantage from that standpoint. I don't think they have anybody going to AFCON, at least any of their big names going to AFCON. So, that definitely is going to help in the Premier League race and holding their top spot. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But I think, all things considered, Chelsea is putting together a good season based on what we have been dealt to us.
Completely agree, Matt. One of the things I just want to add to it is our squad depth is questioned at times, but with the injuries and the COVID and everything that's going on, what really impresses me is just our ability to kind of like shift around, where you've got Azpilicueta, who starts as a right wing back, Trev gets subbed out, and then he shifts to center mid, and then our left winger comes back and plays right wing back, and then we kind of just shift all these pieces around. And you see a little bit of disjointedness with that because people aren't in the spots that people think they're going to be and whatnot. But man, I still think we do a decent job, or a pretty good job about it, considering a lot of these teams get to play the same exact lineup week in, week out. They know exactly where they're going to be. And that familiarity, man, you can't take it for granted. I mean, knowing exactly where someone's going to be off of a run is the difference between a goal and not a goal, or a difference between saving a goal. And, Matt, you did a really good job summarizing everything up, but like knowing that Thiago Silva took a hamstring injury just a week ago and then still gets out there and plays 90 when he's probably not 100%. Kai, who's just coming off of COVID and still gives us 78 minutes, he wasn't the most impactful player on the pitch, but he still gave us 78 minutes after COVID, where running might be tough. Just getting your wind back from illness that can have respiratory effects is hard. It's just tough to be out there. So I think everyone's doing what they can to being as flexible as they can, and you can kind of see it where when Dave does whatever's needed of him, and Pulisic does whatever's needed of him to go wherever he needs to be just to serve the role. So I see a lot of selflessness out of our team, and it's a positive for me.
So I do want to ask you, Parker, thank you for saying selflessness, because it's a great transition here. Does Big Rom make an impact in this game? Does he change the result?
I think maybe in the second half. I think maybe in the second half he does. Maybe, and again, I stand behind Tuchel and what he did, but maybe if he's on the bench, he is able to take out Virgil, because that would be Virgil's main priority, is getting a hold of Rom. And Koundé, who we know had a shit game, who was struggling, that frees up whoever's running on the left, whether it's Mace, whether it was Christian for a little bit, when Cho came in, like maybe that changes that dynamic a little bit. Maybe that forces Koundé into another position where he's not comfortable and where he might make another mistake. At the end of the day, I think it might have made an impact, but I don't know if we would have gotten a goal out of it.
I agree with that 100%. Matt. I think he's a presence. You got to deal with him, but it's totally unclear what it would result in. I think in like the ideal situation where this interview doesn't happen, I mean, my gut tells me, of course, he makes an impact. He's a big name striker who's in form, who scored the past 2 matches. So if you just play revisionist history and say like, if none of this happened, would he make an impact? Like, yeah, I think so. But given the situation, given the distraction, given where like his mental would be at, that's a wild card. I don't know what he'd be focusing on. Would he be more agitated for not getting balls, or would he be more like temperamental for things not going his way, things like that? Would he be more of a distraction than a positive, or would he be a workhorse? Would he try to prove it on the pitch more or less? So I don't know which version of him we would be getting in this situation. So it's definitely difficult for me to say, but I stand by Tuchel not putting him in. So I think leaving him out of the squad leaves all doubt, right? Like, it's not, hey, are we getting him? Like, hey, the cameras keep showing him, hey, like, look at him. By him not even like being there, it's no focus on him, all focus on the guys who are on the pitch. Let's focus on what's out there right now.
I think one additional thing, how are the fans going to react? Because that crowd was going nuts. That was an electric atmosphere. If you throw him on the pitch at Stamford Bridge, what's that going to do? How are the fans going to react? Are they going to be happy to see him? Are they going to boo him every time he touches the ball? You don't know. And then does that play a role in his confidence? If he does get booed every time he touches the ball, then does he not want the ball? Does he not want to work for it? Things like that. I think that would be a big risk. But at the same time, I mean, it's Rom. He can easily battle with one of the best center backs in the world right now with Virgil van Dijk. He can definitely go toe-to-toe with him as far as strength and size and speed. He can do it all. I think that knowing Tuchel and how smart and how calculated that he is, I think he also anticipated that. Who knows? That might have been one of the conversations that he had with Rom earlier in the week. Like, hey, I could put you on the bench. I could bring you on, but I don't know how the fans are going to react. And if we get into a nail-biting situation like we saw today, does that take energy out of the rest of the players and divert the attention away from the team, trying to cheer the team on and have them go strictly to booing you? So I think that also played a definite impact in that.
See, and I think I don't agree with you guys. I don't think Rom makes an impact in this game. And I think it's for some of the reasons that you guys are mentioning. What's his head like? The crowd. That was one of the most electric atmospheres I've heard at Stamford Bridge in a couple of years at this point. It was fantastic. And honestly, I think they boo him every time. I think he gets treated terribly, and probably rightly so. Not only that, but you saw the times that we got forward in attack. We held possession most of the time, but the times where we were most dangerous in attack is when we were, running behind Konate. We were, making runs to the outside, throwing that ball outside. When Rom's on the pitch, and I know we've seen a little bit different of a system the last couple of weeks, but when Rom's on the pitch, I'm not confident that we're doing that. I think we're playing hold-up play. I think Van Dijk is handling Rom pretty well, and I think a lot of our attacks fizzle out. I think what we saw today was last year's Chelsea. Very creative, just can't necessarily always finish. And I don't think Rom fits into that system. So I'm not sure that he makes an impact today if he's there.
So do you think that Rom would have had a bigger impact over Kai today?
I think he would have had a bigger negative impact. Kai was invisible. Kai was basically invisible for 80% of the time he was on the pitch. I think Rom changes our style of attack. And I think Rom makes a lot of attacks fizzle out in this game.
Parks?
He's the gift and the curse. I think when he's out there, you have a big person to fire into, but I think we almost focus on him too much in the middle, and then stuff on the outsides don't develop as much. So I stand by it. I stand by what we did, how we treated it. I thought Kai did okay, given not a lot of great opportunities to really impress, but yeah, he wasn't fantastic. It's hard for me, man. My gut tells me that Rom would have done better than Kai out there on any given day or most days. So it's hard for me to say no, but the situation didn't call for that today. So I couldn't put him out there. I wouldn't want him out there. I truly didn't want him out there. I thought the people that were out there were supposed to be out there.
And the only other thing that I want to throw out there is the Kova goal was off a corner. The Pulisic goal was off a turnover. Does Rom even play a part in those? And I don't think he does. I don't think, once the ball gets turned over, you look straight to Rom in that situation when you have attack going forward. Kova, that easily could have been scored with Rom on the pitch. It was just one of those things that fell to him, and he hit a worldly of a goal. You obviously can't prep for those, but he just did that. And then Pulisic was against a run of play. Turn the ball over, and then Conte, boom, and you're in. So that's my only argument for Rom. And I know we don't have a lot of those, but
most of our opportunities, though, Matt, in that first half were on those situations. We pressed really, really, really well in the first half. We had a lot of really good pressure. We forced 7 or 8 turnovers in their half, and then we're on the front foot. So it was a lot of that. It was the Christian goal. We had 4 or 5 of those situations that led to fizzle out, opportunities. The Christian one happened to be a goal, but we had a lot of opportunities like that looked a lot similar to that. So in the first half, our best offense was a high press and that counter kind of a feel to it. Second half was a much more like controlled possession, FIFA, everyone's afraid to shoot, everyone wants to pass, kind of we fell into our old kind of system like that a little bit more. But the first half was that's where even down 2-0, I was like, man, it doesn't feel like we're down 2-0, because we were very positive. We were very attack minded. We were doing all the right things. We just had a rogue header from Trev, and then Salah did Salah things, which was unfortunate, but they deserved it. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from those guys, but we were really positive is all I'm trying to say. And a lot of our attacks were from that.
Some would say a Phil Jones-esque type header from Trevor. And that is not something you want to be associated with.
Also, Dave tried to do one later in the match, and I was like, what the fuck? Did you not watch Trev mess up the same thing earlier? What are you doing right now? God damn.
They've been watching too much of Phil Jones.
And then can we not agree, speaking of terrible defenders, Marcus Alonso getting just dummied by Salah on that goal was the most Marcus Alonso thing that's ever happened.
He's been dummied by Jared Bowen. You expect anything different out of Mo Salah?
I was going to say it's one of our biggest weaknesses. A terrible defender, versus one of the most informed, the leader in goals, leader in assists, humble men to ever play in the Premier League, Mo Salah. I mean, like Matt said, do you expect anything less? It's not even fair, man.
It's not, and it's just, I don't know. I mean, we went down 2-0 on that goal, and all I could do was laugh, because it's like, oh, Marcus Alonso, of course, yep.
Marcus Alonso doing Marcus Alonso things.
He tried to recover. Yeah, he tried to recover, and then he got schooled. I mean, like he got burned. Mo gave him a little shoulder and then burned him.
I mean, it doesn't take much to burn Marcus Alonso, let's be honest.
He would have burned most of our team in that situation, though. I really do believe that.
I don't think he would have burned Shields.
You know who did a great job against Salah, except on that goal because there was miscommunication between Alonso and him, was Rudiger. Tony was just pushing Salah off the ball all over the pitch, and he's been doing it all year. And you know what? If we're going to sell Big Ron, if we're going to let Christensen and Dave go, let's just collect our money and give it all around. Lifetime contracts. Here you go. As much
Rudiger.
as you want. What did I
You
say?
said Rob.
Oh, sorry, Tony. Tony
Yeah.
Rudiger.
We've been saying it for months. Pay that man. Like it's ridiculous seeing the change in how good our defense is when he's not on the pitch. It is, dare I say, awe-inspiring when he is on the pitch. Like, it is something that Rudy's going to cover. Here's a good analogy for anybody listening in the Wisconsin area that happens to be a Green Bay Packers fan. Charles Woodson, when he played for us, there was always the running joke that 3/4 of the earth is covered with water and Charles Woodson covers the rest. That's Rudy. Like, that is Rudy in a nutshell. He covers the left back, he covers other center backs, he covers the defensive midfielders. The man does it all. And on top of that, he's a part-time striker. What more do you want out of him? He is he is playing out of his mind right now. And he has been for most of the season and last year. You have to pay him. I know that he's got an agreement with Real Madrid on a free transfer, but re-up those negotiations. I don't care. Pay him whatever he needs to be paid. Keep him here. He is somebody that loves playing for the crest on the front and not the name on the back.
Maybe a little bit for the paycheck, but that's to be determined. But Matt, I'm with you, man. Especially in a situation where a couple guys might be going out, you need to like pick your horses, right? You got to pick your guys that you're willing to go to war with, and the ones that you're willing to see go away. And I think Rudiger's got to be your horse. He makes a big difference out there. He's an enforcer. He's a leader. He's vocal. He's active. He takes blame when needs to. He does a lot. He does a lot for our team. And him playing next to Silva next year, I know Silva can't sign a 10-year agreement, even though I would think we should sign him on I would love Silva to play every day forever with us because he's amazing. But him playing next to Silva next year would be a very comfortable sight to see. And you would be able to work in one or two new, right center backs into that system with a comfortable, very solid base of that. And I think that's the way you have to kind of do it. You can't have it all be new. You can't have all random parts kind of thrown into a system. You need some stability, and Tony would do it, man. Tony does it all.
And he's the master of shithousery. I don't know if you guys caught it today when he's on that corner and he unties Keller's gloves. Love that man.
And then he just goes by and he pats him on the ass too a little bit. He just does it all. I love it.
You're gonna get some bullshit out of Tony. You just know, and everybody knows it. That's why you would just be like, I'm just fucking with you, and just pat somebody on the ass or whatever. Just give him a little knock on the back of the head. It's so much fun watching him play because he plays like he loves the game. And I think that is a big difference between people that play for a paycheck versus people that play because they love the game. And Tony loves the game. And I think that is somebody that you have to pay. Does he want astronomical amounts of money? Yes. Has he earned it? Absolutely. I really think he has. I personally think he's better than De Ligt, who's getting paid 400. I think he's a lot better than he is. So I think you have to make that decision. And De Ligt, who knows what he's going to end up being? He's 23 years old, something like that. So yeah, he's got a bright future, but I don't think he's worth that much right now.
And the last parting shot at Rom here was, if Rom wants to get out, just look at Rudy. Look at what Rudy's doing. Rudy clearly wants to get out. Doesn't want to sign a new contract. Rudy's playing his heart out. Rudy's playing for the club. Rudy's playing for the fans. Rudy's showing respect. That's all I ask. That's all I want in my club.
Yeah,
So
I think you're spot on, man. We talked about this with the whole Christensen thing. Rudiger said what he had to say, and then he said, whatever else happens, cool. Like, you know what I want. That's fine. It's going to stay as what I want. It's very like communicative. It's very fair. It's very upfront. With some of these other guys, you just don't know. I mean, we haven't talked about Christensen. I don't think we even need to waste breath on the situation where he wants to get out and like, cool, fine. There's the door. Like, get out if you want to leave. Like, whatever, right, man? So that's kind of how I feel. If people don't want to play for this club, then leave. Like, just fucking leave. I don't care. We'll find other people that want to come play for the club. There's enough global fans of Chelsea. There's enough people that grew up watching Chelsea that want to become Chelsea players. There's enough academy people coming up through the ranks that want to be Chelsea players, that want to suit up, that want to be in the first team. We'll find someone that wants to be there. If you don't want to be there, get out of here. I don't care. Like, that's it. Just leave. So I don't have time for people like that.
I love it. I think that's a great note to close on there. So we'll close it out. We'll if you want to follow us on social media, Red Flag Down Pod at Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. If you want to follow us, certainly subscribe, rate, review on Anchor, Google Play, Apple, etc., Spotify. Sorry, I knew I was missing one. But we certainly appreciate any feedback, any interaction. We're happy to talk about what you want to talk about. That's why we're here. So, boys, we got FA Cup and Tottenham this week. So hopefully we'll be talking about good things next Sunday.
We have a hell of a January ahead of us. It's going to be a tough one.
A lot of Spursy.
Oh, Spursy.
All right. Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
Cheers.